It's time once again to gather together and share a rather strange experience. Mankind tends to view itself as king of the mountain and master of all it surveys. But what happens when we find out just how wrong we are? Our story is called The Spaceman, and he's just arrived from a star system on the far side of the Nightfall radio show. My grandfather and his brother, who everyone called Uncle Robert, were both avid hunters. In fact, it was them who taught me the ways of the woods and the hunt. But they told a story once about something very strange that happened to them on a hunting trip. They said it was in 1948. On that particular day, they'd gotten started late, taking time out for a big breakfast and to make a paper bag full of sandwiches and thermoses of coffee. There was really nothing out of the ordinary during that day, and they bagged 6 rabbits, which was great for them since hunting season for rabbits was coming to an end. The sun began to sink as they walked back to the truck, when they started hearing what they called an electronic sound. It's an interesting choice of words since this was a time long before any general knowledge of computers, and virtually no one owned a TV yet. But they described it like a high-pitched hum that came in low and got slowly louder, almost like an old-style radio that wouldn't tune into a station. And then in just the span of a few seconds, they saw something that seemed completely unbelievable. Uncle Robert said it was like a big goddamn top, the kind kids at the time played with. It was sinking down towards the ground in a clearing about 50 yards from us. And it looked like it was made out of polished metal, very silvery, except for some lights flashing around the edges. Now you would think that after seeing something like that, they'd have tried to get to their truck and get away as quickly as they could. But these guys were a different breed. These were men who had fought and beat the Nazis in Europe and North Africa. These were men that did not scare easily. As they watched, there was another strange electronic sound, and something that vaguely resembled a door or hatch lowered. And as my grandfather put it, a spaceman came out. It was interesting to hear that mid-20th century jargon. But understand, in 1948, the word alien to infer extraterrestrial had not yet permeated the lexicon. Anyway, they described the visitor as roughly average size, perhaps a little smaller than they were. But he didn't have hair. They used the word he because according to them it just seemed male. And it had greenish skin and pointed ears. They said that he was carrying what looked to them to be a small object in his hand that also had blinking lights on it. Then the strange visitor looked directly at them, and all eyes locked. Uncle Robert said he started walking in our direction, and me and your grandfather just looked at each other, and he said, "We can't have this." And they raised their rifles. Uncle Robert said that the visitor stopped dead in his tracks, looked back down at that little box thing in his hand, and they could hear that weird electronic sound again. Then there was a bright flash of light. The object rose up in the air out of the clearing and moved off to the east until it was out of sight. You know, I often think about their story, how amazing it must have been to have such an encounter. And you know, this happened about a year after the Roswell incident. It's something to think about when you look up into the night sky and come to grips with the fact that we are not alone.